YouTube for it. So welcome again, everyone, to another Connect and Share. And this is number 62 of our series. And may I firstly welcome everyone and acknowledge our traditional owners and the lands of which we meet today. I come to you from Darug country, and in our country we say Warrami, which is welcome to our place. And I would like to acknowledge all our elders past, present, and emerging, of which we work with to help educate people of our land and appreciate the tool that we have to provide outdoor experiences and offers. And it's Friday the 13th, so you might have noticed that I've done a little bit of a dark image for us on this Friday the 13th. I classify Friday the 13th as a lucky day. My maiden name used to have 13 letters in it, so I always thought that 13 was always a lucky number. And look at that, we have 13 participants on the line. This is a bit freaky, so let's jump into today's session as others join us, and I can see there's still a few coming in, so that's great. I'm going to acknowledge our beautiful Queensland government today, because Dom made me realise that they did some beautiful posts around COVID, and I'm going to share them with you. I've got to say, this is me. This is me right now, and hopefully you're not experiencing this too. But I think we're all serving a little bit of this, a bit of COVID fatigue. And if you recognise any of those signs, I'm sure you are feeling a bit of this too. But hopefully with their other slides that they provided, this gives us a few tips and hints on how to deal with it. And certainly I have taken a bit of a leaf out of their book and reconnected with what we advocate for, which is getting outside, getting back to nature, and certainly doing a little bit for ourselves at this point in time. And it could involve some of these things that they've put on their beautiful slides and Instagram posts. But one thing that really did hit home to me, which we've been news addicts on trying to understand, what's actually happening in the world. And this is some really good advice. Just set that time aside to do that. Don't get too absorbed by it, because certainly that negativity does breed more negativity. And yes, we need to know what's going on. We need to know the stuff of what consumes our being at the moment. But can I say that this is why you join our sessions, so I can give you a quick snapshot of what's relevant to our industry. And this is a great opportunity for you to catch up on some of the things that you may miss. So hopefully that's been worthwhile for you. The other one that they talk about is eating well, which again is something that we often advocate for in our industry with our experiences and getting back to nature, and move our bodies, which again, it's perfectly pushing towards our first guest speaker for the day, who I've noticed is online, but getting outside, getting part of the nature back into our lives, and just practicing that mindfulness. With that being said, I'm going to introduce Alison Hill, who's joined us from the program is called Nature Pact. So Alison, are you there?
I'm now off mute.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us, Alison. You've got some quick news that you wanted to share with the group. We've got quite a few on the line today from all different ends of the spectrum in the outdoors. So please jump away.
Okay, well, firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land I'm calling from, which is the Wurundjeri of the Kulin Nation down here in Victoria, in Coburg in Melbourne. Pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging. And thank you, Laurie, for inviting me on. It's really great and nice to Zoom meet you all. I'm not sure how much time I've got, so I'll just dive in. But if people have got questions along the way, I'm happy to take questions as we go, or if you think of something later on, please just get in touch, either via Laurie or directly, I don't mind. So I'm the Managing Director of the People and Parks Foundation. So we have an environment trust, so we're a registered environment organisation, and we have a health trust, so we're a health promotion charity. And as far as I know, we're the only organisation, certainly in Australia, that has both a health and environment trusts. So instead of looking for projects that have an environment outcome over here or a health outcome over here, we make sure all our partnerships and our projects recognize that health and nature are intrinsically linked. And I'm guessing that I don't really need to convince you of this, which is great. So we were founded back in 2004 by Parks Victoria. We are a product of their Healthy Parks, Healthy People initiative, and we work in partnership with them to this day. But we also work in partnership beyond Parks Victoria and beyond Victoria. We're actually a national charity. And I was so glad to hear you use the words, Laurie, back to nature, because that's a beautiful segue to one of our partnership projects that just aired this week on the ABC. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. It's called Back to Nature, and it has Aaron Pedersen and Holly Ringland as the co-hosts. And in most states and territories of Australia, they have an episode about how people can get back to nature. And it's a really beautiful series. And if you missed it, you can catch it on iView. That is a good segue into our Nature Pact campaign, because we've based some of the calls to action from the Back to Nature documentary series into our campaign, because cross-promotion can be a beautiful thing. So the Nature Pact campaign is part of our own programming that we're developed, which is part of our Live Nature Wise initiative, because we want individuals, communities, cities, governments, everyone to live nature wise. And for us, that means remembering that we are a part of nature. We are not separate from nature. Nature isn't this thing over there that you might visit now and then. And that we are, if we want to be healthy and well, then we need to make sure nature is healthy and well. So it's really recognizing that traditional owner wisdom, that the living wisdom that traditional owners have lived by for millennia, that country and culture and community are inseparable. So Live Nature Wise has the hashtag Nature Pact campaign, which I'm here to talk to you about today. It also has Nature Scripts, which is a nature-based social prescribing program aimed at non-communicable chronic disease and mental ill health, and also aims for better social connection. And it has the Nature Locator, which is a big data federating program which aims to map all the nature spaces across tenure, and also all the activities, groups, opportunities to connect with nature in a highly searchable way. So when people are looking to get out and get into nature, rather than having to go to all these different websites that have varying levels of information, they can come to the Nature Locator, put in their preferences and search and explore. So that's what we're doing. The Nature Pact campaign is, we're in the build-up phase now, and it goes live in September. And what it is we ask people, we do this through partnership. We're teeny tiny, so everything we do through partnership. So we partner with organisations and ask our partner organisations to get the word out to their staff, to their constituents, to their supporters, to their customers, and to everyone's family, leave no one behind, about making a Nature Pact in September. And this year we've got 4 themes. So the theme for week 1 is linked to the 2nd episode of Back to Nature, and it is about connecting with country. It's really asking people to go outside and spend some time intentionally thinking about country, thinking about how old it is, thinking about whose it is. And the call to action is to share who are the traditional owners of the land you're on, and to share your experience of accepting that invitation that traditional owners repeatedly make to us about connecting to country. So that's week 1. Week 2 is about the nature dose, which is a concept that we use all the time, which is asking people to think about getting their nature dose intentionally through their different senses. So one day what you see, another day what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, and also what you eat, because the food choices we make affect our health and the planet's health as well. So people are asked to take a different nature dose through the different senses each day and share what worked best for them, what was the best nature tonic for them. Week 3 links to episode 6 of the Back to Nature series, and we ask people to go out. You'll notice there's a theme. They've got to go out and find the oldest, gnarliest tree you can find, a tree that's got lots of nooks and crannies and can be a home for lots of different types of other creatures. And also and try forest bathing, shinjin roku, with this tree. And then to go out and find the biggest rock you can find and try basking on it, and to share the photo of your tree and your rock and your experiences. You know, did you feel a stronger connection with the tree or the rock? And then the last week, week 4, we don't have that fully locked away yet, but given that it is Biodiversity Month, September, we are looking for a partner to work with us, and we really want to work with the Care for the Rare campaign, because the nature dose, it's not just about commodifying nature as something that, you know, serves for our health and well-being. With the nature dose is very much the idea of reciprocity. So we want people to think about what in nature are they caring for. So is there a native plant, you know, maybe a rare or endangered native plant that people could either access through a botanic garden or even have in their own home and care for it? So there's still a bit of work to do around week 4, Care for the Rare. And our message to our partners is this we're paying for this campaign. Thank you, JobKeeper. It's given us the ability to do that. So we pay for it. Our comms agency produces all the assets. We share them with you for free, and we encourage you to make them your own. Put your own messages in there, put your own programming, your own stuff in there that's relevant to connecting people to nature. And this is for you to do personally and professionally. So get your families involved, get your staff involved.
A lot of it, Alison, is just emphasising, you know, the messages that we're trying to send every day. You've sort of packaged it up that we could jump on and ride on your coattails with.
Totally.
To extend that message, and certainly a timely time to be doing it when there's not much else, that we're quite restricted in what we can do. So continuing our message.
Absolutely. It's about self-care plus.
Yeah.
And it's about self-care. And the reason I say self-care plus, because if we really want to care for ourselves, we have to care for our natural environment, because the planet can live without us quite happily. We can't live without the planet. So, yeah.
Awesome. So how do people get involved, Alison?
Well, I don't know how you want to do it, Laurie. They could either let you know or let me know directly, and we will send you the stuff. and
awesome.
We've created a guideline, a suggested way you could use it, and a suggested timeline, and to really just go for it. So if you look at our Facebook or our Instagram or our LinkedIn, you'll start to see we're warming people up to it. But the pact is, you know, it's for the month of September. And the reason I'm saying September, not spring, is because we've got some really exciting international partners as well through World Urban Parks and also the IUCN. So we will have some people sharing their experiences in very different places and seasons.
Awesome. So I suppose, guys, if you want to get involved, certainly get in touch with myself. We've got the pack that Nature Pact has certainly given us already, and you'll start seeing our activity and supporting what Alison and her team are doing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alison. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Really
please stick around
it.
if you can. You're more than welcome to, and people might ask you questions in the chat. But,
that would be great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laurie.
Pleasure. Now, guys, I'm going to get on to our big topic of today, which is around tax time and what we can do as outdoor leaders and what we can claim, certainly. I've got Joy, who, thank you, Joy, for joining us today. It's so great to have you. Joy is the founder and principal of Beyond Taxation and Business Services, located in Parramatta here in Sydney. And Joy is a CPA, registered tax agent, a CPA for self-managed super fund, a specialist in that area, has nearly 20 years experience in accounting, taxation and accounting. She holds a Masters of Accounting from Macquarie Uni, a Bachelor of Business from RMIT, also holds limited financial services license and advising in the SMSF space. Her company offers streamlined and cost-effective accounting solutions for time-poor professionals, executive business owners, you're talking to me, with services ranging from business, family trust, self-managed super setup and asset protection, cash flow forecasting, accounting and tax planning. What don't you do, Joy? That's insane.
Thank you. Seems very overwhelming of all the readings. Sorry, I should have given you a little.
It's all good. No, this is
the introduction.
I mean, what it says to me is you're going to be able to help our guys today. So, look, I'll jump over to you. Would you like me to share your presentation, or did you want to do it? Yeah, I can do it.
I think I give me myself try a little bit so I can pace a little bit.
Give it a go. No
Thank
worries.
you so much. Thank you. Okay. I'm yet to work out how to work on that.
That's all right.
Okay.
I'll share this one if you like. Yeah, so that'll be easier. And navigating the ship here.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Okay, I think I get you control with that. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I can control.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is my business, Beyond. I pretty much co-designed my logo just because we want to offer the services beyond people's expectation, and that's what we want to be in the price. Next, please. Education, pretty much Nori have introduction, all everything. Thank you so much, Nori. Next, please. So this is the the slides, which is from tax departments, the records, tax department ATO's records. This is the as close as we can get, which is the outdoor and the sporting industry. Questions here, which is a very common question in relation to outdoor industry, but the principle is if you want to claim anything, it's got to be work related, and for that you must be spending the money, and then you say you want to claim the money. Of course, if something has been reimbursed, you won't be able to claim for that expenses you you did not never incurred. And then the next thing is, doesn't matter what you put it in a tax return. When ATO knock the door, you'll be able to substantiate, you'll be able to prove it. And how far that proving process, we're going to talk a little bit. Sometimes it's maybe a diary book. Sometimes you need a written invoices or receipts. So anything you claim got to be only related to work-related portion. Sometimes you could involve part of it, and part of them is business-related. Some of them is private-related. Common question is closing, especially in your industry. Some people buy some active gears, running shoes, sports, and say, "Can I claim this?" The question is no, and it's a very clear message from the ATO set. Just because you majority of time or you wear that in your work, but it's also available when you go out to exercise for yourself. It's available for private use. So it's more for private use than for work purpose, right? So you cannot claim that part. So once the ATO denied the deduction for that, which means the laundry part, they also denied. They denied for the sports, if you need to clean active gear or, exercise clothes or something like that, they will deny the laundry expenses as well. Some other stuff, such as gym expenses, because you guys work in the outdoor industry, so you need to definitely to keep yourself fit, right? So is a gym expenses membership fee claimable? The ATO says no, this is not claimable. Just because you're working in this industry, you can't. But it would be a different scenario if someone is professional footballer or player. It's totally different because that's the living they work on. And it's called professional sports person. That would be a different scenario. But in your industry, pretty much no. And sometimes you may need to have some supplement or some vitamins. Then again, it's no. Next, please. The other question is about the tools, equipments, which we got a question from Lori about, can they claim the deduction for the or depreciation for the exercise equipment? Right? If you need to bring that exercise equipment to outdoor, you bring that, and that's only available for the field. Outdoor, you don't really use it yourself. Of course, you can claim that 100%. But the cost itself is really, there's a limit. If it's $300, you can claim. If 100% for that, for the sport ground use, that's $300, you can claim. If anything over that $300, you claim the depreciation. The depreciation work in a way is you claim that, say that equipment costs you $1,000, then the rate, a reasonable rate, maybe that equipment lasts 5 years, so you depreciate over 5 years time. So the other rule is, if that the question exactly related to the other question is, sometimes that equipment, such as weighlift equipment, it may be available for your personal, and you do use it at home, right? So how do you claim the proportion of that? If I were you, I would, a general rule with the ATO is use 4 weeks as a substantiation period. So you would have to write down the hours. Let's say in 4 weeks periods, you use it for 10 hours for yourself at home, but you use 20 hours outside, right? So total hours is 30 hours. So it will be 1/3 for the, for 10-hour private use and 2/3 for business, right? For work related. So that's the proportion how it goes. In terms of how much deduction, it's come with the 300 limit. Is it depreciation or it's direct deduction? 4 weeks is general rule. Then how you substantiate, write down in your diary book, right? What day, what do you do? 4 week period, it's enough for 1 year. Next year maybe start it again, right? This is the very common question. The other part is sunscreen, sun lotion. That's usually okay if you need to use it for the work and you do need to stay outside for a few hours. It's understandable. That's okay. Sometimes it's come back with the sunglasses. If a sunglasses hasn't got a prescription, it's got an anti-sun gears. That's depends if you have it for private as well. Sometimes could end up a proportion as well, right? It really depends how you use that stuff, and in your industry, is it reasonable for that? I'm so sorry. Should I turn it off? Okay. So other expenses, which are pretty much related to everyone else, but I believe you guys may also use that as well. So I'm going to go through item by item, go to the deduction item. So common deduction is D1 to D15, but really what we see is D1 to D5 and D9, D10, D12, D15. So D1 is work-related car expenses. As the name says, it's car. So anything got to do with the car expenses, motor vehicle. What is the definition of the car? Car is defined as carry on less than 1 ton and 9 passengers. So that's car. So anything work related, you claim it under D1. What is the D2 expenses? Some people prefer use motorbike, drive to work. So of course it's not car, right? Some people may have a convenient ute, right? Work for your work. So you claim under D2. And then sometimes you travel airline to the interstate, D2, right? Overnight accommodation, D2. D3 is clothing or related uniform. D4 is education, anything got to do with a formal course education. D5 got to do with, sometimes people go just a short-term 1-day training course. If 1-day training seminar, D5, and other work-related expenses. D9 is gift and donation. D10 is work-related. You pay accountant to do your tax return, tax agent. D12 is personal super contributions. Not many people are aware of this item. I may discuss a little bit. And D15 is other deduction, such as income protection. If the time is now, I may go into frequent asked questions in rental property. If not, maybe another time. Thank you, Neri. Next one, please. So let's go through with the D1. So the principle for the car be able to claim a tax deduction is it's got to be work. It's come back to the basic principle, right? The general principle is if you travel from home to work, it's use your normal work price. It's not tax deductible at all, unless you have the shift price, right? You don't have a permanent price of work. You travel today to here, tomorrow to next price, then another day is a different price. There's no set price for you to work. Then that's okay. Or your employer, sometimes your employer say, oh, Joy, can you start working from home, right? And then you start your computer, work something, then your employer say, oh, okay, can you come to office? I need you to do something. Then that's okay. Very, very common one, which is also common to your industry, is carry a bulky tools, equipments. And that bulky tool generally concept is 20 kilos. It's very heavy, right? You can't really carry it in the transport. Or sometimes very bulky. You can't even fit in the bus door, right? So this is a bulky and heavy and bulky equipments. And there also other requirements need to meet. If there's a price for you to store in a work price, but you choose to carry home, then no. But if your boss hasn't got a security price for you to store, and maybe some other worker may steal your equipment or something other happens, so you have to carry it every day with you. So that's okay.
That's a really good point, Joy. I think that one, certainly, I don't know how many people are aware of that, but that's very valid in our industry.
Yes, it's definitely, if there's, you have to carry it to the sports field. Of course, there's no price to store it. And then you have to transport back. And that's the reason you have to have it. But just remember this, just because you sometimes people say, that's just who knows, ATO will not be able to know. But it's as simple, the ATO make a phone call to your employee or ex-employer to say, is that a price do you require to carry this heavy stuff, right? Some people even go extra length, ask their employee to write them a letter or something, say proof that. But it's really up to employer want to do that or not. But got to be when ATO lock the door, call the employer, you'll be able to say they say yes, they do need to do this. The other things you cannot claim is employer reimburse you. Of course, you can't do anything. Also, normal question, very common question is sometimes employer offer limited lease arrangement, right? Everything being salary sacrifice that arrangement, which means the employer already reduced your salary for that work-related expenses. If under this kind of arrangement, you cannot claim it. You cannot claim the expenses. I found when I took on some new customers, new clients, they have this arrangement and they claim huge amount of deductions. I said, need to be careful with these arrangements. Then what can be claimed? It's you travel between separated jobs on the same day from job 1 to job 2 or to alternated work price. You go to the head office say, can you go to the factory, right? second price or second job. And this is or meeting price. You have to go to office and then go to a meeting price. I have a very good summary, which is very virtual in terms of what can be claimed. Nori, can you move to the next one, please? So if you see double side, which is both way, right? So first one, clause, got a home to office. On the top one, pretty much no. But very limited circumstance is yes, which is bulky tools, no safety storage, limited. The other price, which is from home to the auto-related work price, that's I put a construction size there, or second employment price, that's okay, right? Back from, that's okay. And then the other price is a coffee shop, right? If you have to go meeting price, go there occasionally, or travel from an employment price to the coffee shop, a second price to the coffee shop, that's back forward, it's all okay. So this is a summary of what you can do in terms of big an idea what you can claim. Can we move on to the next, please? So that's when it comes to the how we claim that. Are we going to claim 5,000? I think a lot of people know about a 5,000 kilometer. Let's just claim 5,000. Of course, it's very easy to sustain, but doesn't mean you should be putting that 5,000 in your kilometer, because 5,000 at a 72% current year's rate, you pretty much get more than 3,650 something deductions. But can you, when ATO call you, say, why you need to claim work-related expenses, right? Do you have a reason for that, right? Do you have a diary book? It's all come back to the principle. How do you travel? Why you travel, right? What did you take with you? That's the principle. 5,000. Just because easy does not mean the ATO go to not to check with you. And I mean, a good way for you to claim it as a it's kind of a little bit safe for you to claim it is if your employer pay you car allowance. I would say it's reasonable safe, because if employer pay you car allowance, which means they expect you to travel for some work-related expenses, right? So the other one, which is logbook methods, people know they can claim a bit more about a logbook. That's why they go for extent for that. So there's no limit for how much you can claim. Some people can claim 10,000 in terms of motor vehicle expenses just because that motor vehicle could be different reason, could be huge repairs, could be retro, could be brand new motor vehicle, could be huge amount of depreciation because it's brand new, and also motor vehicle under the finance, right? So this is the documentation you need to require if you want to go for logbook. And then how you claim that is based on percentage of logbook. But how do you do logbook? It's based on 90 days, 3 months period, consecutive every day. So what you do is you do everyday logbook. You start when you start a car in the morning, or when when you turn off engine last night, you write down the closing odometer reading, right? And then the next day when you come home, you turn off engine, you write down. So every day you have an opening and a closing, and you write down detail what you travel. You travel for work, you go to see meeting, or you go to grocery shopping or some town holiday. So you write down 90 days. So for that 90 days, then you work out how many kilometer travel for that 90 day for private. If in 90 days there's 1,000 kilometer traveled, 100 of them is private, which is 10%, right? The rest will be 90%. If this kind of pattern remains the same all the time, you can pretty much use that logbook for 5 years. But ATO require you for that 5 years, you can't just keep a logbook and log about 5 years. Let's claim it 90% every year. Now ATO wants you to write down every year opening and closing the odometer. So let's say last year you traveled 10,000 kilometer, and this year you travel 3,000 kilometer. ATO look at it. Your pattern must be changed. Why? Do you need a new logbook or not? Right. So refresh yourself at least on yearly basis. So you know that logbook is still valid or not. So valid is important. Logbook can be in different way. Sometimes I send my clients Excel template. They can use Excel template, work it out. Sometimes you go to news agent, get a logbook, they have a logbook, or there's a convenient app. Even ATO has my Deduction app, look it up. So when do you claim this under logbook? When you buy a new depreciation, new motor vehicle and have large percentage work-related expenses, which you're likely to claim more than 3,600 under 5,000 kilometers. But it does require you to have a very good record. Keep what you're doing. So just in case ATO lock the door. Next, please.
Just on that, your car doesn't have to be a business registration, does it? It can be a private registered vehicle?
Yes, it can be. So also a question come up is, if I drive my partner's car, but the car registration under my partner, how do I claim it? If that's the case, you can't claim cents per kilometer or logbook method, you claim actual cost, right? You would have a petrol, which day you spend petrol on what, which day you have that. And pretty much based on the actual cost itself. All right, let's move on to D2. For D2, we mentioned that this is something other than car, such as motorbike, right? So you travel for that reason, also for work-related, what we just mentioned. Then another part, which is a big part, you go interstate, you stay overnight. So what you can claim is pretty much meal, accommodation, everything else, if your employer hasn't reimbursed you. If they have already, which means you can't, right? So this is work-related travel. Sometimes, if everything being reimbursed, of course you can. Sorry. The next part, what you cannot claim, just because you receive allowance, you can't really claim everything 100%. You go on what you have that. And also good people also record a substantiation diary book. Let's say you go for the Gold Coast for the 5 days travel. And then on 5-day travel, you have a 2 days spent on sightseeing, or you go some zoos or something else, but 3 days you use for business, seminar, everything else. So in that case, a diary logbook for that 5 day, how do you write down the activity in these 5 days will help you to substantiate, and then everything proportional on that basis. So it will be 2 out of 5 days. So everything, airline ticket, meals, everything 2 out of 5. So that's how you substantiate on that period. It can be as easy or as easy you get a deductions, or as hard if you don't have it. Imagine 3 years later, tax department lock the door, you have nothing to substantiate, right? So sometimes it's easy job, but just not lazy. D3, come to D3, work-related closing. So compulsory uniform is the principle, something compulsory, something distinct to your job, or some protected uniform in your industry, probably some protective with UPF ratings, safety colored vest, protected boots, or some occupational health duty wet weather gears. So this is something related to that clothing itself. If clothing is tax deductible, of course, the laundry itself is deductible. Some people just put $150 for laundry. Yes or no? First, you got to come back. Do you need to wear uniform like me? I wear this at home. No uniform. I can't claim $150. So it's not like let's just put it in. It's of course come back to what is your industry? Do you need to wear it or not? Right? Is it compulsory uniform, or if not, has that uniform been registered or not? And is it protective or not? Right?
So here's a quick question. Hugh, do you want to jump in?
Yes, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you read it for me? Sorry, I don't look at the chat.
No, thanks very much, Joy. It's actually the perfect time. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the work-related clothing, laundry, that sort of stuff. It would be unusual in the outdoor industry for us to be wearing sort of high visibility stuff. But the type of clothing we have is actually really important, and I wonder if it sort of borders on PPE. So, for instance, wearing cotton is generally frowned upon. So things that we would potentially wear around the house, we wouldn't be able to wear outside. So we would need synthetic clothing, things like raincoats. And so it's kind of not necessarily uniform. It wouldn't be branded by our employers, but at the same time, it's really necessary for us to have equipment that protects us from the elements while we're out there. And I just sort of wanted to float that and see where you thought that might sit.
Okay, I think it will be your question more about a protected clothing, kind of protected clothing, isn't it? Like in wet weather, you need to wear that. But it's really, from my personal perspective, sometimes it's big blurry, such as a wet weather. Sometimes you walk to the school with the kids, you could wear that same thing as well, or sometimes field. But I think it comes down to how often you use that in your work as well. If that pretty much 99% you use for that, you don't use anything else, you couldn't bother. Like my husband walk out of this house, never use umbrella or anything else, just wet, right? But you can't make yourself wet if you stand 3 or 4 hours running in a sports field. You have to wear some kind of protective or wet weather gear. Don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's come down. If something is something available at home, such as active wear or something available to wear at public, in general public, no. But if something, it's more designed, like some protection clothing, more designed for your industry, just because you work need to outdoor, and the people would go for Kmart or go for some shop to just buy that for that reason, and pretty much you don't wear that at all. It's more for some, it's very obvious reason. This is for some protector for your industry. I would go for it, right? If dual purpose can wear this, then that, no, I would say no, unless it's uniform, distinct, right?
Okay, thanks, Joy.
Sorry, it did not answer, but I think this is a sort of a gray area. Sometimes come to judgment. Yeah, come time to judgment if not uniform, which means nothing really concrete, black and white. Then come down to, okay, this is only buy for that. Which element be more? Is a sun protection element got a UPF 50 or more? 50% plus or more? I think a common sense sometimes also need to this. If 50% more, you wear that, in that, I would say yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Great. You jump on the next one?
Yeah, next one, please. So work-related self-education deduction. This one's very common question is fee help and HEX help questions, right? I pick up clients with HEX help, lots of HEX help deductions. And then, you know what, very dangerous part, you claim HEX help deductions. Who manages HEX help with the repayments? ATO, right? So you pretty much open up yourself to the audit straight away. So HEX help, definitely not, because they ask you to repay it in the tax return, definitely no. But what is the other one can claim is a fee help. So when you register for course, you be very, very mindful, fee help or HEX help, right? For fee help, you go into the fee help arrangement, but you can claim even fee is not paid, it's payable. You can claim a tax deduction, right? So that's two big distinctions, which you can need to huge amount of deductions, need to be aware how you make the choice there. Because not all the cost is fee help, and not all the cost is HEX help. So you need to look at that. For the fee help to be able to do the deduction is when you take on that cost, the cost itself is directly related to your job, related to your work. You can't say next term I'm looking for the new job. I study for it, for the design for that course to enhance my my opportunity to get a better job. I got to be improving your current skill, or once this course let's say I have a bachelor degree at the moment, but if I do master degree, same as accounting, my employer going to give me pay rise. Okay, go for it, right? It's pay rise related to exactly doing what you do, but pay rise there. So the other one you can't claim it's just because you want to do something, or you want to move from one job to another, from personal trainer to different things, right? Or cross related, so you can't claim that. Next one, please. D5. D5 is everything not in a D1 to D4. You pretty much claim it here. D5 union fee, seminar. And we also talk about the tools deduction. Under $300, it's okay. If 100%, if not 100%, need to proportion, it can come to the proportion that. How do you proportion that? You may wear safety glasses, sunscreens, it's okay for your industry. And then face mask, especially at this situation, just because you choose, you can't, your employer say you have to wear it and you buy it, that's okay. Internet, phone, and home office. Home office deduction is a huge part of last year. Can we please move on to the next one, which I have a summary. How do you claim that home office? A couple of weeks ago, I did a tax return for someone. It's home office close to $2,000, right? Deduction itself. So how do you claim it? A substantiation sometimes can be very important. There's two ways to do home office. We used to do 52 cents. Now, because of COVID-19, they do 80 cents, right? So 80 cents, the period, it's probably just for COVID-19. After COVID-19 finished, the ATO may remove this 80 cents deduction. So it's called 80 cents shortcut method from 1st of March last year until 30th of June. But I guess next year they will extend this next year as well, because I only noticed the website update to 2021 in July sometime. So let's see what happened in 2022. So on that 80 cents, it's already covered lots of things. You can't claim all these things in a list here, right? You can't do additional claim, right? So you choose this method if you did not purchase any laptop or electrical goods, expensive stuff. So it covers depreciation, cover decline in value depreciation on laptop, everything else. So if you did not buy anything, you choose this method, obviously it's better off, right? And less substantiation. However, if you choose 52 cents method, which means you may purchase some electrical goods, laptop, something else. So you would choose this one. You do a comparison, see which one's better off. Under 52 cents method, what has been included in that 52 cents? Electricity, cleaning, and decline in value of the office furnitures. What else additional you can claim? Mobile phone, internet, stationery, decline in value on laptop. And that's the reason when you choose this method, because you got a laptop, and that's the reason you choose this. But I also need a substantiation for that. How do you substantiate? Well, you need to work out a record of hours you work from home, and how you work, how you substantiate time sheet, rosters, or everything else. Under 52 cents method, because you claim the mobile phone, internet, telephone, the usual requirement is 4 weeks substantiation period, right? Write down how many hours you working from home, how many hours use internet for private purpose, kids using it, right? And then go from there, work out a percentage for mobile phone, internet, right? Decline in the laptop. Right? So this is a two method as a bigger way to work out what is the general rule and do a comparison. Next, please. Gift donations. Some people thinking if they donate to someone, they'll be able to claim a tax deduction. Not really. It's got to be DGR status. If you spend $100, give it to the church, it's no deduction if the church is not registered with the deductible gift recipient. How do you check it out? You ask for receipt. In the receipt itself, it will be $2 deductible recipient or tax deductible or something notes in the receipt itself. or check from the ABR website. It will tell you this organization, the name, ABN, and if they are gift deductible recipients. So that's the starting point, especially you want to do bigger donations. Check if you want to, if they are gift deductible recipient. You cannot claim some deductions such as raffle tickets. I always got a phone call, people calling me, say, Joy, do you want to enter into the raffle tickets? I say, no, I want a deduction. Just send me the bank account, do the bank transfer. No, I want a deduction. I don't want, I never wins anything really. So let's go to the other end.
You didn't win the 80 million last night then, Joy.
So I walk out of my chance. I get a better get a tax refund than winning the raffle tickets, not even a chocolate. Fundraising dinner, because you get a dinner out of it. No deductions. Club membership fee, you get a lot of benefit discount now. School building fund, some people go for deduction for school building fund, pretty much now.
So the general rule is if you're getting something back, then obviously.
Yeah, you get something back because the people putting you in a different, it's benefit advantage there. What you can claim is it's under workplace giving program is take away the pay from your pay slip, right? And that usually show in your pay slip. And bucket donations, usually ATO say it's understandable. People just give $2, $5. I allow you to have a $10 without receipt. But most of the case, you need a receipt or bank statement substantiate that. Yeah, that's fine. Move next one, please. Personal super contribution. I'm going to be. This is a huge topic if you want to calculate how much tax savings there. But general rule is.
Do you want on the last slide or?
Sorry.
That's right. He's got it.
Sorry, it was actually Bridie, and it was in general. So, in general, so I'm happy to wait till a bit later to ask a question.
Okay. All right. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the personal deduction. Not many people are aware of that. Some people just do some salary sacrifice in pay, and if there's miss salary sacrifice opportunity, they just don't do everything. And the financial year pass, go every time go. And when you do the tax return, not every accountant tell you you should do personal super contributions, because this is a kind of financial advice. And the accountant typically, when you do the job, people wouldn't ask you this involve any financial advice things. So in big picture, the reason you do the super contribution, take advantage of that is super fund has a concessional tax rate only 15%. But how much you paid? Average people paying around 34.5%, including Medicare levy, right? 72,000 as average Australian wage, right? 34.5%. Some people, make a bit more, 47%, which is 45 plus 2% Medicare levy, 47. So if you compare 47 to 15%, how much percentage tax rate difference? 32%, huge savings there, right? So, but do need to be aware when you put the money in a super fund, money locked away. Are you going to use the cash for the mortgage or anything else? So you do need to work out what is your cash. How do I want to achieve in my saving? Do I want to build more in my retirements? Right, in my return, especially someone like my age, getting older, I'm not getting younger anytime. So I would put the money, triple my money into the super fund, and I know I can save a few thousands per year. That's per year, right? There's a cap there, 25,000 last year. This year is 27,500 you can do. That's including employer already contribute for you. So pretty much you can work on a gap between 27.5 to the gap employer already contribute. But really this is a special time. Tax department give us, all of us, pretty much back 3 years. If you haven't used the gap for the last 3 years, talk to your accountant, ask them to check with the tax agent portal. They will tell you how much gap. Or you can check your super fund how much gap if this year you're going to take advantage of that. Next step, next please.
Yep, I'm really conscious. I just wanted to let everyone know we are going to continue this and understand that we normally finish 11, but I think this is crucial content for you all. And I know I'm certainly learning a lot. We will keep going. If you need to depart, it will be on the YouTube channel, but we also have the new announcements on the grants that I'll also do at the end as well. So if you can hang around, great. We'll keep going until we're finished. But sorry, Joy, you go ahead.
That's okay. I think I pretty much finished this part. And if you want me to continue in terms of rental property common question, I can keep going. For the D12, that's exactly super contribution. Just give you an example how much you save. If you put in 10,000 deductible super contribution into the super fund, that's the tax saving, right? In the bottom part, sorry, my screen share is a bit funny. So if you under the lower threshold, 35,000, you pretty much put the 10,000 in, you're not much saving, $400 there. The saving here, we work out combined saving. Let's say if you save this much in a personal tax return, but you need to pay 15% tax, this is combined. We also factor tax in the super fund as well, which you do not see it. But when you do the tax return, you get a 15% actual refund in your personal because we factor that tax 15% in. Let's move on to the average, which is around 72,000. Oh, sorry, the previous one. I wish my skill of the sharing skill be better. So if it's 72,000 average wage and salaries, if you put in 10,000, combined saving is 1,950. Because that's looking at around 20% tax savings there, around 20%. But when you do the tax return, you get more than this because we take into the tax paid in the super. How about you're lucky enough, you make over 180, which is marginal top rate, you save 3,200. That's why it's a very popular strategy for those high net worth individuals because that's every year tax saving. Imagine if you put in more. That's why the ATO put the cap on top. But if you are in a marginal tax rate, look at those 3 years. Past 3 years, if you haven't taken advantage of that, take advantage of that this year, next year, keep going for the next couple of years, take advantage of that. On a note that this is financial advice, I do not recommend you and I do not ask you to put in 10,000. This is just an example. Disclaimer here. All right, next page, please. Next page. D15. Everything you cannot find anywhere, you put it in here. And the common one is income protection insurance. And the one note is there's income protection, the big, huge change coming up on 1st of October this year, which change into how you can claim the income protection. Go to see income protection specialist if you need to take a look into that space, right? And have something done before 1st of October. But there's a huge change in terms of how you can pay out in future. Just need to be aware, you can claim a tax deduction on the income protection for sick leave, but when the insurance payout for that compensation for that part is also taxable. Don't miss out that. And then you need to put aside a tax for that because pretty much no one will withhold a tax for you. Insurance company wouldn't. What you can claim is life insurance, trauma insurance, and TPD, total permanent disability insurance. So this is pretty much the D15, what's for. You can't claim anything else, you put it here. Next one, please. Some of you may have a rental property. This is not very, if you do have a rental property, I'm sure you know all these expenses you can claim, depreciations. Right? One thing is some people may not be aware you purchase a property, might be reasonable new. When we say reasonable new, probably 10 or 20 years old, right? It's probably not as new as you guys thinking, but 10 or 20 years old, it may be worthwhile to go to see a quantity surveyor to do a depreciation schedule, and then especially when you're in a higher bracket tax rate. So you pretty much claim a tax deduction. But need to be aware when you sell that disposal that rental property, when you sell it, you need to add back. But when you add back, you pretty much add back 50%, not 100%, because that property already hold it for 12 months, right? So that's one thing need to be aware. For the mortgage interest part, need to be aware of the repayment is not deductible. It's only interest part and only related to the portion of the investment property. There's a common questions. I may take a couple minutes if that's okay with you to go through the next one. Okay, next please.
And Bridie, did you want to jump in now? Because it's probably relating to something earlier.
Yeah, sure. I've got I guess a question on what is deductible in terms of if I have a job coming up to go and for context for anyone else is, I teach and guide rock climbing, canyoning, those sorts of things. If I have a job coming up to do something, say to guide Clostrel Canyon or Ironstone Ridge or something that is, I guess, a big day, something quite complex. If I haven't done it in 12 months, 2 years or something like that, I've got no idea of current conditions. I've got, those sorts of things. What one of my employees in the past used to do was actually allow us to use all his resources to go and do a recce, to actually go and do it on our own time, so that we knew what was coming up. We could do an effective risk assessment. We could understand what the current conditions were, etc. If I go and do something like that, is my transport, etc. actually, so just say I did it and I wasn't given extra resources, is that trip tax deductible?
Yes.
I'm not being paid for it, but it is learning and teaching.
Yes,
Sweet.
it is. So your usual price, let's say one of the primary school, you go there every day, and one day principal say, just go do the other things. This is called automated work price. Right? It's in a list there. Automated work price, go out to do everything, and then your employer haven't just pay you. If they reimburse, put it in this way, if they would pay you $800 for the day, but because they couldn't bother to do that reimbursement things, they pay you $1,000, right? So they already gross up that $200 in your pay, which means it's reasonable for you to claim that $200 if we put it in that simple, right? In that simple. If everything has been reimbursed, which means you incur nothing, you just make that $600. But because they haven't reimbursed, haven't give you resources to do that, which means you have to incur all these expenses for that $1,000. Of course, it's tax deductible, and it's not ordinary things you're doing. Yep. Does that answer your question?
But okay. I'm not sure whether you, so this is something I would be doing on my own time at my own expense in order to be able to do my job correctly the day after, say. So I don't know the
what
current
kind of expenses you would incurred on this research time.
So if I'm doing, I guess, a practice run for a job, I'll call it. So the job is on Tuesday. The job will involve a number of expenses. The practice run will involve transport to the location, use of any of my work-related equipment, those kind of things.
Yes, I would say yes, because it's a preparation for that, for the job.
Beautiful.
Would you go there? Would you go that price to do that? If that things doesn't happen on Tuesday, would you go on Monday?
I teach rock climbing, but I also do it for fun. So maybe is the answer, but it might influence my choice of location.
Yeah, but
if I can jump in, I think, and Joy, correct me if I'm wrong here, if you keep a diary of that sort of stuff,
yes,
certainly verify it.
Yeah,
yes,
gotcha.
You certainly verify what you're doing, what is your intention. Sometimes intentions here, no one read it. But if you put it in a book, say, on Monday, because there's a Tuesday, there's a job there. On Monday, I travel to the field, just get preparation, get myself ready for that. Why not? As long as you have something, reason why you incur that trip, not too remote. It's close enough what you're doing, that's okay. I would plan that for you if you come to me.
Cool. So that's that one. The other one I've got is in relation to the equipment I would take on my job or those recce's or anything like that. I mean, so teaching rock climbing, you need helmet, harness, raincoat, sun shirt, rock climbing shoes, approach shoes, slings, carabiners, sun shirt, rock climbing pants.
Yes.
They're all they're all able to be bought at a standard outdoor store. Well, I'll call it a specialist outdoor store, I guess, but you know, one where people buy high-end equipment. But some of those things are protective. Actually, technically, I would say they're all protective, but some of them are overtly protective, like harness and helmet and sun shirt. But some of them are required for the job. You can't buy them at Kmart. You can buy, any person can buy them at a specialist outdoor store though.
Yes,
So
yes.
what's the limit of what's claimable, I guess, in terms of?
Yep. I don't think there's an idea put any amount of limit, right? I don't think there's any limit what you can claim. It's go down to individual items. Helmet, would you wear a helmet? No, you wouldn't go anywhere wear helmet. Of course, that's four-wheel work. Harness, yes. Safety gears, yes. But if you buy tracksuit, which is particular in the list where we go back to the tracksuit, this is on ATO list. No. If tracksuit, if sportswear, no. If it's available, unless that sportswear is so funny, so hard capped or something else, you feel so embarrassed when you wear this outside, or people recognize your occupation straight away. You wouldn't wear it, right? This, I think, it's come down to item by item and common sense here as well, right? If the safety wear, if the brake shoot, people say, your employer say, it's very common questions. Some shop where the ask shop assistant wear brake, just brake color. Can you claim that brake? No, just because your employer asks you wear the brake or brake tracksuit. It's come down to the common sense. Your employer, this brake shirt, you're not going to wear it in the public. You're not going to wear it in the public. You feel so distinct. People recognize your occupation straight away. Or you feel like it's quite embarrassing. Why would I wear these funny things outside? Why would I need to let people know my occupation? So I think a common sense in terms of some of the items is not distinct enough. It comes down to a common question: would I wear in the public? It's definitely this kind of item is not black and white. If you get an ATO auditor coming, some ATO auditor may say yes, but some of them may say no. This is how blurred the line is. So come down to the common question, common sense, come down to the how do you substantiate? Why would you wear that? And then sometimes the receipt itself will help. The receipt will tell you this is a 50 UPE, some protective. It's everything like this substantiate. We will help you substantiate yourself. Make sense? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fran.
All right. So okay, rental property. This is the kind of, I think somehow this is the other way around. Can we go to number 1 questions? That's 7, 8, 9, 10. The other one, please. I make it
sorry.
once nice. Yeah.
Too far.
Okay. Some common questions say husband wife usually own a rental property, but most of the time, mortgage is just on husband's name because the wife is stay at home looking after kids. So in this case, of course, the husband got a higher income. If mortgage is, rental property is negative gear, of course, but better tax deduction. Can you, just because his name 100%, sometimes when they go to the bank, they design it in silly way. Sometimes mortgage broker may not know. They just say, put it under your husband's name. It's better for your tax. But really, it's not. It's come down to the title itself, the property title. Who owns that property? If for 50-50%, got to be 50-50%, and does not based on the mortgage, who's the mortgage under. So that's the first question. The second one is if you usually have a rental property, but you rented it to your relative, to your parents, so you don't charge the market rent. You could charge half. So can you use that half to put it in a tax return? The answer is no, got to be market rent. What would be the reasonable market rent if the same house you rent it to other person? If you charge $400 to the market, to the real estate agent, you charge $300, you need to bring up to $400 to that rate. Or you limit your deduction up to that $300. There's no negative gear, right? Tax department don't want to take your advantage of that. The number 3 is usually you have a big repair maintenance coming up with that. Really come down to what is the repair or renovation. If this is a big item for the kitchen renovation, usually we spend 10-20,000 on kitchen renovation, toilet. It's really come down to the item. You can't really put it as repair maintenance, ATO's target for that. And the reason for that particular item put in a rental property tax return, they separate it out. They want to monitor that item. They want to benchmark that item. So if you spend 20,000 for the toilet renovation, how do you claim the deduction for that or depreciation or for that? If tile fixed to the floor, that would be fixture and fitting, could end up at 2.5%. But if blinds on the windows, it's depreciable items. It could be say 20%, 15%, depends on how many years usage. So it comes down to item by item. Is it attached to that property? It's hard to remove, or is it easy to remove, easy to repair? So that's the question. Is you cannot claim immediate deduction, but you may be able to depreciate. And what is the rate of depreciation depends on the item itself.
Right.
The next part is the mortgage insurance and refinance cost. Yes, in a simple way, yes, refinance cost, but need to be aware of there's a potential 5-year written over 5 years. Your accountant will be able to do that. And you also need to tell your accountant you did a refinance. There's a typical item in the tax return. Did you do the refinance during the year or not? And then we watch out the items there. Number 5, I refinance my home and use the equity in my home for the deposit of investment property. Can I claim tax deduction for refinance? Yes. So any deduction in relation to the proportion or the 100% or not, it's relation to the use of the fund. The ATO use exactly the term say use of the fund. If you use that for investment, yes. If you use that for personal holiday, no. It's the same as if you borrow 100% on investment property, but the investment property have equity built up and you withdraw that 10,000. If you use that 10,000 for investment, go to the share market, yes, but it will be claimed deduction under share investment. If it's used for the holiday, no. Use of the fund is very important here, technical term here. Number 6, can I deduct travel expenses for maintenance inspection of my residential? I put a residential here. It's very important. Its rule has been changed from 1st of July 2017. So 2018 financial year going onwards, you cannot claim the travel expenses for the inspection. Interstate, including overseas. So you can't really claim that for residential investment property. But for commercial property, yes. Or if you're real estate agent, you manage that as a property enterprise, yes, it's okay. Next one, please. Holiday home, only rental occasionally. Can I claim all the rental deductions, expenses now? Holiday home, pretty much you need to come down to the how many usage per proportion. It's again come down proportion. How do you use it? How much can you, especially in this situation, don't expect yourself to have a negative gear out of it because the majority of them will be using for private use. Okay, number 8, I do not rent out my, do I still need to pay capital gain tax? Yes, you do not need, it's still kind of your investment. You still need to pay capital gain tax. If you bought an old investment property, you need to do some renovation before you rent it out. This will be part of the cost base. But how much you can claim on renovation itself, it's usually, if bigger renovation, usually suggests you go to see a quantity surveyor if it's a huge extension of the house. Sorry, the box is it's out of 9, but walk through the numbers. It's no for this one, number 9. Number 10, I have dispute with my tenant, incur some legal costs to cover the default rent, yes. If something got to relate to the rental activity, yes. All right, this is pretty much all the questions or all the exercise today, but any question welcome. I haven't looked at the chat myself. Let me see, or you can ask me.
Pretty much, I've got a heap of direct messages here on various other topics, but certainly I haven't seen any others. Does anyone have a quick question for Joy before we get on to the wrap up of the week and where we're sitting right now? I think they're all stunned.
Okay,
So,
thank you so much.
so much, Joy. That was amazing. I think, yeah, as I say, I certainly got a lot from it, and hopefully everyone else did. And really appreciate you being here. And the details are on your screen if you want to contact Joy on any of your needs in a taxation world. That's great. All right. Well, thank you. We'll
Send me
jump
an
on.
email. Yeah, I didn't realize that we're over time here. Send me an email if you have any question, and I can call you back, or give me a mobile phone number. I'll call you back to discuss. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Rory, again for the opportunity. I'm really be grateful to be able to talk to everyone else, and hope you get some out of today's seminar. Thank you.
I'm sure they did. So thank you so much. And I will jump on to the rest of our presentation. And thanks everyone for sticking with us today. We're going over time, but a really, really important conversation. So, okay, let me run through this really, really quickly for you all. And you might remember that the National Outdoor Education Conference has had to be postponed till 2022, but we do have some exciting opportunities with the Precursor online event, which will be held on the 29th of September. It will run from 10 a.m. to approximately 4:30 with some great topics of discussion that are very relevant for today and this time. So we're bringing that forward in an online environment, and tickets are now on sale for that. For anyone that doesn't have a current NOEC 22 ticket, you can purchase a $30 ticket to be part of the Precursor. If you have paid and registered for NOEC, the National Outdoor Education Conference, you get access for free. So you will certainly get a link and some more information as we get a bit closer to the 29th of September. But if you haven't got a ticket, you can certainly be part of this by jumping onto the website. It's going crazy on me. Really important topic next week, which is around vaccinations and what you can do as organisations in this space, where what you need to be considerate of. You might have heard this week around the SBC case, and also some of the legal challenges that come with enforcing vaccinations in your business. So we'll have EmploySure join us next week for our Connect and Share. So if it's a topic of interest, something that you want to get your head around, that's the time we'll certainly do that. The federal disaster payments, lucky or unlucky, the fact that ACT is now in lockdown means that they also now have access to that disaster payment, something that we've been asking for some weeks now. We are hoping that we get the ability to backdate for our organisations in the ACT, including our tourism businesses. That is yet to be seen, but certainly they are now eligible to claim for that from this week. So again, if you've got staff that have lost hours, get them to certainly jump on and apply for that. ACT announced a new grant yesterday in the announcement of the lockdown, and that grant consists of $3,000 for employing businesses or $1,000 for non-employing. It's 50-50 with the federal government. The unfortunate part about this is it's only from this day. So it is business lost from day of lockdown for 5 days. My personal opinion, it's not enough. We will certainly be advocating for some consideration of this. The 15,000, I don't believe that many of our guys have been able to qualify for that or are still working through the processes on that one, let alone an extra 3,000. Some of our guys have not worked since the 24th of June. So we need to do more in this space, and hopefully the ACT government will hear us with this issue. Vic support, there's been more announcement for the Melbourne side of the businesses, but the Alpine Support Business Program is still there, and also the Hardship Fund for our Victorian members. The New South Wales business grants still open, still overwhelmed. There's a lot going through. They are being rolled out. I have spoken with some of you and you are receiving those grants, which is great news. Let's hope they all start coming out now. And don't forget that if you get that grant, you're also eligible for the JobSaver if you have employees. So that goes hand in hand, and that's something that you should be also getting there and applying for. If you're a micro business, you do have access to the micro business grant, which is the $1,500 per fortnight. Accommodation providers, the extra payments are there if you can verify you've had cancellations on your rooms. So again, another New South Wales exclusive. And then you have a range of other opportunities through payroll and tax concessions. I'm sure something Joy can certainly help with if you reached out to her to understand a little bit more about that. But yeah, we're still waiting on some fair work legislation, and if that comes through, I have heard whispers it might be coming though, so hopefully it will. The 27th of August will be another very important Connect and Share, and this is sponsored by Reckon, and this is going to be around if you have employees, making sure you are legally compliant. There is a lot of different areas that legislative wise you need to be up to speed with. This session will be all about that. So if you have employees, you cannot miss this session. That's on the 27th of August. A reminder that the EOI for the scholarship program for event management is available for anyone that lives in regional New South Wales, and you can certainly be part of that by applying. These are open. I believe they're going to be open for at least the rest of the month. So if you have either an employee or yourself that want to apply for that scholarship, great opportunity to do so. Our AGM is coming up on the 27th of September, and the RSVPs are now open off our homepage. You can jump onto our website and go down and certainly RSVP to be part of that. But we're also calling for board members. Like every year, we have half of our board finishing their terms, either restanding or not restanding, and we're calling out for some additional board members. So if you know of someone, or if you're skilled yourself in any of those areas, we certainly encourage you to apply. There's our topic. So as I said, next week is all about vaccinations in the workplace. The following week is about compliance with having employees as part of your business. And a massive thank you to everyone. Our YouTube was up to 166 views just in July, which was great. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on our other videos that we add to that channel occasionally. But as you know, we always record these sessions. They're available there in case you miss out. So guys, thank you so much for bearing with us today. It's been a long session, but I think a very worthwhile session. And I'm willing to stick around for a few more minutes in case anyone wants to catch up on anything in particular. But thank you for joining us for another Connect and Share. Catch us at happy hour at 4 o'clock if you want to join us. Alternatively, we'll see you next week.